Hi everyone, it's Megan. I'm here today to talk about our spring craft, our herb garden planters that we are going to paint and stencil a pretty bird on for spring. I love seeing the birds when they arrive and hearing them for the first sign of spring. So follow along and I'll show you how I made them. Okay, so when you open your kit, you're going to see the following supplies. We've got a couple of terracotta pots. We have our potting soil to pot our seedlings. We've got a couple bird stencils that look like this. 4 colors of paint: black, white, light yellow, light pink, a foam brush. These are some glue dots, some chalk, and then a little piece of sponge and a toothpick, and I'll show you how I use all these things to make our painted pots. Okay, so the white paint you've received in your kit is white acrylic paint, and we are just going to use this to apply it to our pots just as a base, because if you don't do a white base, the brown color really shows through. So you just want to kind of go over and do a light coating. It does not have to be perfect whatsoever. We're just going to cover this with paint. So um, just put a thin layer on there. And then we're going to let it dry for about 20 minutes or a half an hour. Once our base coat is dry, we can start painting. So we've got a light pink and a light yellow color to paint our pots. And you'll see the color is very pretty and spring light, but very light as well. So we can just start painting with our foam brush. Can do a light coat to start. This is going to take at least 2 coats, maybe 3. You should have more than enough paint to do a few coats to make the color look really nice and vibrant. And don't forget to do the top and then a little bit inside your rim, because when you do have your flowers or your herbs in here, you will see a little bit around the top. So I would just kind of go over it a little bit at the top here. So you can do one yellow and then one pink. And I would let them dry between coats. And once you're done with the coats and they're all dry, we will come back and put on our stencil. Okay, we've got our pots painted. I did 3 layers of each and made sure that any dark spots that the terracotta was showing through were painted over so it's nice and even. And I'm just going to let them dry for a little bit longer. And we're going to get our bird stencils ready to stencil onto our pots. Now you're going to want them, if they're not cut like right above the bird head, you're going to want to trim it a little bit, more like this one, so there's not a lot of space up there. But what we're going to do is we have our glue dot, and we are going to put the glue dots all around the bird, so we can stick it to our pot, and then also so we can stencil on and then take it off. So what you're going to do is just take a glue dot and you're going to put it all around your bird, especially paying attention to little areas that might like come up like this. And the front is the shiny part with the bird facing left, and then the back is the not shiny part. So we're going to put our glue on the back on the not shiny part, just around the bird, in particular paying attention to any of the sharp edges that come up. Okay, so once our pot is dry enough and we put our glue dots on the back, we can layer stencil on top of our pot, which I did. It should stick, but it does not have to stick perfectly down. It should come out fine anyway. We're going to lightly dab, so it's going to not require it to be completely stuck down. And I put my toothpick into my sponge like this. And this black is chalk paint. So what that means, it's paint, or chalkboard paint rather. It's paint that's got some texture in it so that you can write on it later on. So this part you really want to go slow. I am just not putting too much on my sponge here. And I'm going to start dabbing And you really don't need to put a ton of paint on right away, because if you put too much paint on, the lines at the edges of your stencil might get kind of blurry. So I might have even put a little too much paint on my sponge here, but you can just dab away, being extra careful near the edges not to kind of blur it in. And we're going to do a couple layers of this so that it's nice and dark, and wait for that to dry and then see what that looks like. Okay, so I took off the stencil of the bird. I put two coats of the paint on, and now it is a little blurry or running around the edges, so we're going to use our toothpick, the other side though, the flat side, to dip into our chalk paint and kind of fix up the lines to make it more crisp. And that sounds like it might be kind of hard, but actually it's pretty easy to do with using this toothpick. So just kind of go over the edges, and you can also do it with the color paint too, to make the edges a little more defined. Okay, so I did use my toothpick in the pink and the black paint to sharpen up some of the edges there. It's pretty easy to do. And also in the middle, it didn't come out in the stencil, but I just put a little rectangle between the bird's legs right there. So you can do that if you'd like. And we are done. I'm going to wait a few minutes because there's still some wet paint on here. But after that, you can use your chalk to write whatever you would like on your bird stencil. I'm going to write the name of my herb that's growing. And you can also write something and then change it. So it's really great. And this is the finished product. This is what our pretty planters look like. They're ready for you to pot your herbs and put them in your windowsill. I would not recommend putting these outside. And also you may want to seal them. I know Mod Podge sells a sealant for paint, and I'm sure there's other brands you can get to seal them, and they'll last longer and maybe be a little more shiny. But for now, these will last quite well on your windowsill, and I hope you enjoyed making your herb planters, and thank you for joining me today. See you next time. Bye.